I, 21F, have a boyfriend, 22M, of 3 years who have ASPD. My Sil, who is 5 months pregnant, is scared of him and wanted me to end my relationship. After her pestering me for days and me trying to reassure her that I have a support system and my boyfriend will be completely cut off from her child, she still wouldn't stop texting me every day to break up. Me and my boyfriend decided to fake break up until the baby is born. Today I was running an errand for my brother and his wife. Sil asked me if I'm still seeing my boyfriend, to which I answered no. She told me I make the right decision and said that she can finally have a peaceful sleep. She keep talking about how her stress level have been going up because of my affair and she's glad she won't have to raise a kid in the presence of my boyfriend. This is where I might be the asshole. Sil asked me if I will move in with them. I answer with a simple no, and when she said she haven't stated the reason for her request and asked me to listen her out, I told her, I don't really care about your reason, I won't move in with you, and walk out of the house. She texted me, saying it's unfair and cruel of me to be upset at her for trying to do what's best for everyone. She wanted me to stay with them so she can keep an eye on me and that I put her under lots of stress, which is bad for pregnancy. I feel like the but also thinks she's pushing me too much. Edit. My brother have a talk with my Sil and she have called me to apologize for her behavior. I came clean about the fake breakup. She says it's wrong of her to assume the worst in my BF. My brother asked her what would she do if their child was unfortunate enough to have the same diagnosis and that changed her perspective, her words. But she have her concerns still and think it's best for my BF to keep his distance until further notice. And she will be speaking to her doctor about her anxiety and stress. She also offered to apologize to my boyfriend, but my boyfriend says he doesn't care about some pretty words and tell her to manage her own health, both mental and physical. Thanks everyone for your concern and advice. And to all those that made unnecessarily rude comments about my boyfriend and our relationship, learn some empathy. I have a 17-year-old daughter named Eva who is gay. She came out years ago, but honestly before she ever said anything to me, she made it clear as a child that she wanted very little to do with boys. My half-brother James and first reconnected about 2 years ago. We knew of each other as children, but I didn't know for sure that he and I shared the same dad. We ended up doing a DNA test after our father died and confirmed that we were siblings. So now we've gotten to know one another again and we've been slowly introducing our families to each other. He has 2 kids that are just a few years younger than my daughter, so Eva was really excited about finally having some cousins closer to her age. The ones on her mom's side are significantly younger. She's also excited about getting to know more of my family since I'm not very close with the rest of them. We've met up a few times and it's always gone well. Everyone gets along with each other. At dinner a little while ago, James joked that Eva's boyfriends would have to answer to me, her uncle, and her male cousins if they broke her heart. Eva just laughed a little and said that she wasn't concerned about boys so they wouldn't have to worry about that. Later when they were gone, she asked me if I knew how James and his family felt about the LGBTQ community. I told her that I wasn't sure because it had never come up, so then she asked me if I could find out for her. I said that she should just talk to them about it directly since she was the one with the question, but then she said that she didn't want to ask because she didn't know James as well as first did and it would probably be easier for me to bring it up instead. I ended up telling her that she can't expect me to do hard things for her just because she doesn't want to do them, and if she wants to tell my brother, his family that she's gay or even find out their opinions on LGBTQ people, then she should do that herself. I thought she had let it go, but she's been giving me the cold shoulder for a bit. My ex-wife actually called me earlier and told me I was being obtuse about the situation and that I actually should be willing to do this for our daughter. I feel that Eva disclosing her identity is a responsibility that should fall on her, and it's not my job to pave that road for her. Evidently my ex and Eva both think it is and that I'm being insensitive as well, so I wanted some outside opinions. Edit. I love my daughter, and I'm proud of her. Even in wanting her to find out about my brother's views on her own, I never would have left her to handle that without me at least in the room. Reading the comments, I realized that I wasn't teaching her how to be independent and do things on her own. I was likely making her feel completely unsupported. I saw this as a facing her anxieties thing, instead of truly thinking about it as a safety issue. I should have tried to see it from her point of view. I recognize that, and I will do more to learn in the future. I'm going to apologize to her, and ask how she wants to go about this. My wife has a milestone birthday coming up this year. The thing is, she hates surprises and hates being the center of attention. She hates it so much that she actually made us plan a vacation for her birthday so that no one would try to throw her a big party or surprise party. Well, as it turns out, her parents don't care and want to throw her a surprise party for a date before our vacation. They're extremely good people to us, but they are very bad about respecting our decisions on things. They're very pushy and tend to do things against our will as they think they're doing the right thing and making us happy. We basically had 2 weddings because they weren't happy that our first one was a smaller, backyard wedding, due to COVID. My wife and I loved the small wedding and were completely happy with that being that. We told them we don't need a second one, but they basically forced us to have one because they wanted family to come that couldn't go to the original. Long rant, but just explaining how they are sometimes. Now, I'm conflicted on this because I know that my wife deserves a nice party and the spotlight, but I know that she does not want to have those things. Would I be Ta if I briefed her on what's going on? I'm thinking about at least letting her know it's coming without giving away any major details. As far as her parents are involved, I'll be doing everything in my power to make sure they don't turn it into a huge event as they always try to do. So far her mom has not listened to me, but I'll be diligent. Edit. Wifey has been informed of the party and was relieved to hear about it. She had a suspicion they would do it anyway, so we've just eliminated stress on her building up to her birthday week. I told her she's 100% in control of how much information she wants to know about it, and if she wants out, I'll put my foot down. She actually seems into the idea now that it's not a surprise or anything huge. In the meantime, I'll play along with the mill and make sure things stay reasonable. Thanks for everyone's advice. I literally have never gone to Reddit for advice before, but this one I needed some honest feedback, haha. Last week, I borrowed one of my friend's books. We're not that close, but we both share a love of reading. Anyway, I was reading said book whilst in the bath last week and it led to me accidentally dropping it into the tub. The pages are ruined and the book has expanded quite a bit, but in my opinion it's still readable. Of course though, I still felt very guilty and I offered to replace it. She refused and said that I shouldn't worry about it, accidents happen after all, but now I found out that she's going behind my back and telling all our mutual friends about it. She isn't saying it directly, but she's heavily implying that I didn't try to do anything about it. I'm pretty sure I'm NTA, but some of my other friends say I should just be the bigger person and replace her book. However, I'm feeling quite hurt by her words and am now very reluctant to purchase something for her. So what should I do about it? Should I just ignore it or just go ahead and buy her another book? Edit. I've replied to a couple comments, but I think it's better if I just add everything here so everyone can have all the information. Firstly, I offered to replace the book like 5 or 6 times, but each time my friend told me to not worry and that it would just be a waste of money if I did decide to replace it. After all, I've already read it, she said to me multiple times. Also, regarding the bath controversy, I often read books in the bath to relax a bit in the evening. My friend knows this and even does it herself. I also mentioned that those were probably my plans. I.e., I said something like, I can't wait to read this book in the bath later. And she didn't show any expression of discomfort or whatever. In fact, she slightly encouraged me by saying something like, I'm so jealous, I've got work later so don't have time to relax. Jealous in light, friendly joking way. Edit to many people, wondering if the book was extra special in some way, excluding the fact that it's book she bought for herself, and also wondering what the book actually was, but no, it wasn't a special edition, nor was it sentimental. The book I got wet was Open Water by Caleb Nelson. A beautiful urban fiction and romance book which deals with several important issues. I would recommend. This may also come across as defensive, but I truly don't believe the issue lies in me reading the book in a bathtub. My friend has also read the books I've lent her in the bath many times, and though it may seem like I'm careless with other people's books, this is the first time I have ever even slightly damaged one of her books. I truly did feel bad and insisted on replacing it multiple times, but each time she refused, so I just accepted it and moved on. English is my second language, so I apologize in advance for any mistake. I am a Latina woman married to an American man. We live in a small community in Florida where most people are nice and kind to me. For context, I love cleaning. I like trying new products just for fun. A couple of times I've offered to clean other people's houses, free of charge, just to help them. Among of them, a widow who recently lost her husband of 50 years. A neighbor who had a baby and has a 3-year-old daughter. Another neighbor who had a car accident. I go to their houses and I clear for them once or twice a week. A few days ago I was sitting on my couch when I heard someone knocking on my door. It was odd because we have a doorbell. I opened the door and this lady, around 40 years old, whom I've seen just a couple of times, said, "It took you a while to open the door." I looked at her like I didn't understand what she just said and I only mumbled, "Huh." She then asked me in the most entitled tone, "I want to know, when are you going to clean my house for free?" At this point I was trying not laugh and I just asked her, "Why would I do that?" She then proceeded to mention all the houses in the neighborhood I've cleaned and she wanted to know why I haven't been to her house yet. She then yelled at me, yes, yelled loud enough to make my next door neighbor to come outside to see what was going on. She was yelling at me because I wasn't replying to her. I was still trying to process how on earth this woman thought she had the right to come to my house and demand that I clean her house, for free. I just said, "I am never going to clean your house. I am not the neighborhood's maid, I've only helped a few people." She then demanded that I help her. At this point I had enough, so I just said, F*** off, and I closed the door. Later that day when my husband got home, she ran to him and told him I am a rude person and how I yelled at her. When I explained him what happened, he told me I shouldn't have talked to her like that and next time I should be nicer. AITA? Edit. First of all, thank you for all the comments. I don't know this app too well, so I didn't know until now how to update this post. Most of comments are against my husband. He is a good man. He has lived here, in this community, for over 12 years. He knows most people around and he is also the kind of person who cares too much about what others might think. He doesn't like confrontation, that's why he told me to be nicer. I showed him this post and he read some comments. He wasn't mad. He laughed and admitted he shouldn't have said that, but he explained me what he meant. I also want to address that I entered the country legally with a K-1 visa. For the few that think this is a fake story, you wouldn't believe half the things I've experienced since I've been here. Some people are crazy. About the story, the crazy neighbor found out I've cleaned some people's house because one of them told her. And she also has been saying around how of a horrible person I am, only telling half of the story, but I don't really care. I will continue helping people when I can and when I want to, but on my own terms. I, 32F, met my sister-in-law, Mary, 32F, in uni. We were assigned flatmates who really enjoyed cooking and baking together and became best friends. She actually introduced me to her brother, John, 35M, whom I dated and eventually married 8 years ago. We have 2 kids aged 3 and 5. Mary was thrilled for us. She had a close relationship with John and remained best friends with me. John is very intelligent and a bit competitive in nature, so he naturally went into an intense career field. Unfortunately, he turned towards alcoholism to cope with an intense job. He started seeing a therapist who helped him identify his triggers. He drank less, and then he quit therapy thinking he was fixed. He started drinking more again after a while. He did the find a therapist, control his drinking, quit therapy process 4 times over 5 years. Each time he'd make promises and agreements. We had 2 kids along the way, the first before I realized how serious the drinking problem was, and the second after he agreed to quit completely and get fully sober. He went back on that promise and said he wanted to be in control of his drinking and only have 1 to 2 drinks a week. He never got completely sober. He'd flake out on promises to the kids and me. He'd go out with friends who encouraged him to drink and have 2 to 3 drinks and then start buying bottles of vodka and gin again. After the 3rd time he quit therapy, I gave him an ultimatum: get sober or I was leaving him and taking the kids. I followed through with it. Mary and I stayed best friends after college, but John asked me to keep his drinking from his sister the first time around and didn't want her to think he had a problem. He was my husband, so I agreed if he worked on staying sober. When I divorced him, it appeared out of the blue to Mary and their parents, who couldn't understand why I would up and leave her brother and adamantly take the kids, only letting him have visitation. Mary blamed me for the divorce and wanted to end our friendship, so I told her the truth, that I loved him and still do, but I wasn't willing to spend the rest of my life and ruin my kids' childhood setting ourselves up for disappointment over and over again when he wouldn't stay in therapy or stay sober. Mary was horrified after I told her about everything. She got very emotional when I admitted to her how many times I let myself get excited for plans her brother made with me or the kids, only to be flaked on when her brother poured himself a drink after work. She went to give John a piece of her mind and asked him to get his shit together. John's now extremely upset at me for spilling his secret that I'd promised to keep, because Mary's image of him is now rubbish, and his parents are disappointed in him too. I think I had a right to explain myself to my best friend, and I no longer had a promise to keep after he broke his end of it. AITA? I, 24F. Live with my girlfriend, 25F, and a roommate, 23F. We share a 2-bedroom apartment and have lived together for 2 years now. Up until now, we have gotten along pretty well. My roommate has an elderly cat. The cat is honestly kinda mean. She doesn't like me or my girlfriend and will run away if we try to pet her or pick her up. So we just avoid each other. My roommate asked if we had cats prior to moving in because she said her cat doesn't like other cats. We did not have any pets at the time, so it worked out. We did tell her that we might want one someday, to which she said we would have to revisit the issue if it came up. Well, my girlfriend and I have gotten to a place where we really want a pet of our own. We saw a kitten at the shelter and just fell in love with him. We got the okay from our landlord and brought him home last week. His name is Banana Pudding. Closing parenthesis. Our roommate is furious with us. She told us that we were aware that her cat doesn't like other cats. I told her honestly that it's unfair for us to have to tiptoe around her cat and that we were allowed to have our own pets as long as the landlord is okay with it, which he is. She couldn't expect us to never get a pet or to cater to her cat's needs 24/7. The conversation ended there. Unfortunately, things have escalated because her cat hisses and swats at Banana Pudding just for existing. She is honestly pretty aggressive, which is a big issue. Emo. Our kitten is very friendly and sweet and causes no problems. We asked our roommate that she keep her cat in her bedroom since she's elderly and aggressive. She refused and hasn't been speaking to us. She says we are huge awes and even got some mutual friends to take her side. I personally think that if her cat is so aggressive and uncomfortable, it's her responsibility to live alone. It's gotten so bad that my girlfriend is crying and considering taking the kitten back to the shelter. So here I am to get an outside perspective because IDK what to think now. AITA? Edit. So I am definitely the awe. The comments have really helped me to understand that my roommate's cat is just acting, well, like a cat. I am willing to admit I was ignorant and impulsive. I have never had a pet before and should have done more research before jumping into pet ownership. I plan to sincerely apologize to my roommate. She is willing to talk once she gets home from work. I am going to see if she's willing to try a proper introduction for both kitties, and Banana Pudding will be staying in our room for the duration while her kitty will be able to roam. I am hopeful that things will work out, and I want to thank everyone for being blunt and educating me. I was impulsive and inconsiderate, but my roommate is a great person and I think she will forgive us and be willing to try to make it work. Edit number 2. Roommate and I have talked. I apologized to her for being selfish, ignorant, and for putting her cat in an uncomfortable situation. She forgave me and said she'd be happy to help do a proper introduction between the kitties. She said that if we do things slowly and carefully, her cat might be able to accept Banana Pudding. For now, our kitten will be staying in our room for the introduction process. She also taught me a little bit about cat body language and guys. Her cat came and sat in my lap. She even purred. My roommate is a very kind and forgiving person, and I'm very thankful that she chose to forgive me after I was such a huge awe to her. She played with Banana Pudding and gave me some cat food recommendations. I think things are gonna work out. Thanks everyone for your advice and criticism. I, 19F, recently got a call from my friend, Jess 23F, begging me to run to the shop for some baby formula and other food essentials because she was so tired. I agreed. I got her some stuff and dropped it off and offered to nurse the baby so she could have a shower and cook some pasta. She was super happy and took up my offer. This was at 4:15 and her boyfriend usually gets back from work at 5:30. Jess has her shower and food, and when it hits 5 p.m., I ask if she's going to be okay for half an hour until her boyfriend gets home. She tells me she kicked him out because he went to visit his mother whilst he had the baby and he hadn't asked her first. I should be clear that I don't have kids and never intend to, and so I cannot pretend to know what goes through a new parent's head, but I found that whole thing so ridiculous. I said that's so stupid of her because he clearly loves her and baby and he didn't do it to be a dick. Jess got mad and said I don't get it. We sat in silence for a few moments before she asked me if I could help her the next day with the baby. I said no. She got really upset and asked why. I told her she needs to beg her boyfriend to come back since the baby is both their responsibility, and whilst I'll help out every now and then, I'm not going to become a substitute parent when the baby clearly has two loving ones. She told me to leave but then texted me a few times later that day asking what days I was free the next week so she could get work done. I told her I love her, but she needs to get her act together and sort it out with her boyfriend. She then went to the group chat and began asking our other friends for help and, accidentally, mentioned what I had said to her. Everyone thinks I'm a huge asshole and I can't help but wonder if I am. I want to be clear, Jess' only qualms are that he went to visit his parents when he had the baby and that he didn't ask her for permission first because she was dead asleep. She admitted he's a great father who works hard to provide for the family. He's not a disinterested bum or knout. AITA? I love my wife. She is the light of my life. We have been together 6 years and married for 4. She has 2 wonderful children from a previous marriage. They are with us Monday to Friday and then go with their biological father after school on Friday. I love them very much and I consider them my own children. I work a full-time job as an executive in a technology company. About 50 hours per week, travel about 1 week every 2 months or so. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. She does fantastic. She had her first child at 18 and has been a stay-at-home mom since. This is soon to be important. Recently she met a friend who is 25, single and loves to party. And slowly but surely, my wife started to pick up on this lifestyle. Now we're at full tilt. I took notes of the last 12 weekends just to see if I'm crazy, and I know Reddit loves good data. Counting Friday and Saturdays over the last 12 weekends includes 24 weekend nights, stretching back to the week of Halloween. Out of those 24 days she went out for 17 of them and generally does not come home until after 2 a.m. She texts me generally the whole time she's out, but she drinks, which is fine, smokes, not a fan of, and now has told me she has tried cocaine once or twice. Time for a quick detour. Growing up I had only my mom and her roommates. My mom was a stripper, and her varying and often changing roommates were also strippers. From around the age of 8 would tuck me into bed, tell me she'd see me in the morning and then, unbeknownst to me for a long while, leave to go work at the strip club. I distinctly remember so many times waking up to find the house completely empty and eerily silent and crying myself back to sleep. And I was also very confused as to why my mom would do that to me, but I knew, even if I didn't know the word at the time, I was being abandoned. Eventually I became numb to it. I don't speak to my mom anymore, 24 plus years later. I feel that now. Even as it's Friday and my wife is taking a nap before we go to dinner and drive separate cars so she can go hang with her friends at the bar afterwards until 2 a.m. We've had it out before. I've told her I felt abandoned and her response was, I never got to go out. I had kids. They're with their father on the weekends so I know they're safe. I'm sorry, I like to go out with my friends. I don't know what to tell you. I wanted to say, I'm sorry you had children. That was your decision. And now you're 30, which is a bad argument. Age shouldn't be a factor here, but I'm winging it, and you're married, and if you want to go sometimes, that's fine. But I think you are going out too much. I'm writing this post because not only am I concerned with am I being the asshole. I have my own hobbies and my own friends, but I like to see my wife. I like to hang out with my wife. She is my best friend. The other reason I'm writing this is because I'm becoming numb to what she's doing it, and I'm not sure if I'm to blame. She is, or we both are. Last week, I borrowed one of my friend's books. We're not that close, but we both share a love of reading. Anyway, I was reading said book whilst in the bath last week, and it led to me accidentally dropping it into the tub. The pages are ruined and the book has expanded quite a bit, but in my opinion it's still readable. Of course though, I still felt very guilty and I offered to replace it. She refused and said that I shouldn't worry about it, accidents happen after all, but now I found out that she's going behind my back and telling all our mutual friends about it. She isn't saying it directly, but she's heavily implying that I didn't try to do anything about it. I'm pretty sure I'm NTA, but some of my other friends say I should just be the bigger person and replace her book. However, I'm feeling quite hurt by her words and am now very reluctant to purchase something for her. So what should I do about it? Should I just ignore it or just go ahead and buy her another book? Edit. I've replied to a couple comments, but I think it's better if I just add everything here so everyone can have all the information. Firstly, I offered to replace the book like 5 or 6 times, but each time my friend told me to not worry and that it would just be a waste of money if I did decide to replace it. After all, I've already read it, she said to me multiple times. Also, regarding the bath controversy, I often read books in the bath to relax a bit in the evening. My friend knows this and even does it herself. I also mentioned that those were probably my plans. I.e., I said something like, I can't wait to read this book in the bath later. And she didn't show any expression of discomfort or whatever. In fact, she slightly encouraged me by saying something like, I'm so jealous, I've got work later so don't have time to relax. Jealous in like, friendly joking way. Edit. To many people, wondering if the book was extra special in some way, excluding the fact that it's a book she bought for herself, and also wondering what the book actually was, but no, it wasn't a special edition, nor was it sentimental. The book I got wet was Open Water by Caleb Nelson. A beautiful urban fiction and romance book which deals with several important issues. I would recommend this. May also come across as defensive, but I truly don't believe the issue lies in me reading the book in a bathtub. My friend has also read the books I've lent her in the bath many times, and though it may seem like I'm careless with other people's books, this is the first time I have ever even slightly damaged one of her books. I truly did feel bad and insisted on replacing it multiple times, but each time she refused, so I just accepted it and moved on. I, 20F, have always had issues with my family, particularly my 3 sisters, making comments about my body, partially because I'm going into a looks-based field, acting, even though I'm probably not what would be considered conventionally attractive. Ever since I started professional theater training 2 years ago, the comments have really ramped up. They usually have 3 things they comment on: my hair, my skin, and my weight. They know I'm very proud of having very thick, black curly hair, so they often make comments about it being not really black, and compare it unfavorably to my little sister's by saying hers is darker and less bushy. I also have a condition that makes my circulation very poor, so I'm very pale, don't tan well, and have a lot of red in my skin tone, particularly my face, so it's a running joke that I look like a vampire. The last one, and the one that does the most damage, is the comments on my weight. At my heaviest a year ago, I weighed around 133, but I'm only 5 feet 3 inches, so it looked like more weight than it was. My older sister, who's very small and petite, describes me as heavy, and talks about how she wishes I could share a few of my pounds with her. I decided earlier this year that I couldn't take it anymore, and after I got accepted to drama school, I committed to fixing the things I don't like about myself. I've started taking care of my hair and learning how to use makeup to work with the red in my skin instead of against it. They didn't notice these changes, but they did notice when I started losing weight. I've been calorie counting, and I've lost 6 or 7 pounds since the start of the year. Last night, after I refused a second bowl of pasta at a family dinner because I didn't have the calories for it, My mom commented on the fact that I'd been losing weight and asked why I felt like I needed to because I don't look bad the way I am. I was honest and briefly described the last time I got called heavy by my sisters. I said that it really got to me and I wanted to make sure I really liked myself before I get to drama school, so that I'm not battling as much insecurity while I'm there. Everyone was kind of quiet afterwards, and my older sister left the table not long after and wouldn't talk to me. Later that night, my mom pulled me aside and said that I could do what I wanted with my body, but I shouldn't blame my sisters for the way I felt about myself. She said it had really hurt my sisters, particularly my older sister, that I had made them feel guilty about my choice to lose weight, and even if I'm losing weight because of their comments, I should keep that to myself. My other two sisters have since told me that making my weight loss about them was inappropriate and asked me to apologize for putting that on them, because even if they did comment on my weight, they've never told me I should lose any, so I have no right to try and make it their responsibility. AITA? My husband has ADHD. Refuses medications. His body, his choice. That's not the issue. I'm sure this behavior has something to do with ADHD and pot smoking, but can't say for certain. He's 29, I'm 30, F. He has a habit of staying up until 3 a.m. smoking and eating whatever he can get his hands on. Again, not an issue. I don't care what he eats or doesn't eat. I also don't care that he smokes. It does help him, anxiety. My issue is that he will take leftovers out of the fridge to pick at throughout the night and then leave it on the counter overnight. He also leaves his dirty dishes all throughout our bedroom, which has our office space and computers, so I wake up to several dirty dishes all over our desks. Mainly mine because he will set it there, also it's not in his way. So now only is he wasting all the food damn near every night, but he's also creating a pigsty, and he will generally leave the dishes there for 2 to 3 days before he remembers to bring them to the sink to be washed. I've started refusing with every ounce of my being to clean up after him. I've talked to him about it several times and he merely says he forgets to put things away. Doesn't matter what it is. Leftovers, bread, sandwich meat, condiments, milk, etc. When I'm awake, I make sure to go to the kitchen after him and put it away because I don't want spoiled food, but I'm usually not awake when he does it, and he doesn't even make an attempt to remember to put things away. Same thing for when he makes dinner. Uses every single pan to make something simple, like spaghetti, and then never puts away anything that he uses, including the dishes. Just leaves them wherever they are. And again, I've talked to him and he says he forgets. So last night he took out the leftover Alfredo and left it right on the stove. I intended to take some with me for lunch, but obviously couldn't since he left it out all night. I was fucking pissed because I didn't have time to make myself lunch for work at this point and can't be spending extra money on something on the way because we are financially fucked right now, fraudulent charges to our bank account that we are fighting to get back. So I did wake him up and was pissy about it and basically said that if he was going to be lazy and waste food because he refuses to put anything away after he's done with it and burden me constantly, then I would be putting a lock on the fridge. He gets heated and says that he can't believe how ridiculous I am being over something that he tries to control but can't, and for not being more empathetic to his ADHD or giving him reminders. AITA? 2 of my children still live with me at home. Neither one decided to go to college and both have crappy minimum wage jobs. They have an inheritance from their grandparents that they will get when they are 25. It's enough to live off if you live frugally for your entire life. But it seems like a lot of money. Their older sister just moved out after graduating from college. She did the grocery shopping and the cooking for the house. I gave her money and she took care of it. I tried this with the middle kid the first week after his sister moved out. Him and his brother spent all the money on delivery in 2 days. I didn't give them more money, so they had to spend their own. They were pissed. So now I buy the basics. Pasta, bread, eggs, cheese. That sort of thing. And I only cook for myself. My ex-wife, my daughter, and myself have all tried to teach them to cook. They refuse. So they have been having to cut back on their expenses because I won't buy ready-to-eat meals, delivery, or food prep. My ex moved to Wisconsin and my kids know better than to say they want to go live with her. They like Texas winters just fine after experiencing just one up north. They talked to me the other day about food again. They said I'm being cheap by not providing them with better food options. It was Saturday, so I went in the fridge and pulled out some chicken thighs I had defrosting. In an hour I had butter chicken and broccoli with naan bread for our lunch. I told them that I wasn't going to make any changes to how things ran in my house. I told them all they had to do was go to college and I would cover their meal plan. Nope. They like their lives other than the food situation. My mom called me today and said I was being mean to her poor babies. I offered to send them to live with her. She politely declined and dropped it. I do this with everyone who contacts me on their behalf. And then I tell them how it went. They don't understand why no one wants them to come live with them. I think I raised two stupid kids. AITA? #EDIT. My kids will not be able to run through their inheritance. It is in a trust that will give them enough money every month for a small apartment and ramen. It's not enough to party on every month, but it can be an awesome help to your budget.